guys, welcome back to my channel. So, trigger warning, this is a Scientology video, so if you find my views on this religion to be triggering, I suggest you click off this video. Also, if you don't like my delivery of the content on this religion to be triggering, or you don't like how I deliver it, or whatever your complaints are, go ahead, click off, and go. Okay, so if you're still here, let's get on into what I'm covering today, because it's like 1:30 in the morning and I need to go take a shower and go to bed. Anyway, so I'm going to be covering one article. I know, shocker. This is from Mike Linder's blog, and this is covering how big is St. Hill's size. He posted this blog on April the 17th of 2019. And St. Hill's size is something they talk about a lot in Scientology, and so we're just going to kind of go into what is St. Hill, what is St. Hill's size, and why is that such a thing in Scientology. So St. Hill is the name of the estate in Sussex, England, that L. Ron Hubbard set up to be the international base for Scientology for several years. We'll get into that. But so L. Ron Hubbard bought that estate in 1959. He set that up to be the international headquarters for Scientology due to some issues he was having in the United States. So he set up quarters in the UK for a little while. He was there for some years until the UK was like, oh yeah, we don't want you here either. So they denied his visa extension and pretty much kind of kicked him out of the country. He kind of tried to bounce around to a couple of other countries. They didn't want to have anything to do with him either. And so that's when he took to the seas, and that was the birth of the Sea Org. So backing up into what happened at St. Hill. So this was during the early 60s. St. Hill was kind of the place to be if you were going to be a Scientologist. Hubbard was giving like lectures. If you wanted to be a Scientologist, you went there and you learned from L. Ron Hubbard. You like got to be there with him. You learned how to audit from him and his wife, Mary, what was her name? Mary Sue. That was the one that kind of took the rap from him and was kind of like just erased from Scientology after that. But anyway, so that was kind of the deal with that. Like, so St. Hill is like the epitome of where Scientology was like at its peak. So in 1982, Hubbard decided to make like this birthday game to encourage Scientology organizations to bring in more people, get them up the bridge, bring in more money. And this was released in an L. Ron Hubbard style document. So it's LRH ED1339R. And this is his first mention of achieving the size of Old St. Hill. So, going back to my phone, it says, birthday games began long ago when someone said, what would you like from management for your next birthday? Now you've all heard such questions. The normal answer is a tie or maybe a chocolate cake. Well, I surprised them with, I said 5 times the stats. And although, if I recall, it was already December, it went out as an LRHED. And what do you know? The results was one of the biggest booms to that date. Yeah, no, not really. It's just more of L. Ron H's bullshit, but so, kind of skipping down. So what really is a birthday game all about? You are giving me and yourselves another great step on the road to a cleared planet. And someday, how many birthdays later, you'll give me and yourselves and all your friends a cleared planet. And I'll go off with you to target 2 and we'll clear another one. And someday, way, way up the track, we'll have this universe back in native state and impervious to the faults and traps of yesteryear. But that's tomorrow and many tomorrows. Right now, the subject before you is this planet, your continent, your city, your org, you. See, it says, I expect you, yes, you, write down to QQ to put an org there as statistically great in the mid-60s St. Hill. It's not even an unreasonable request. The FSO, when I was coaching it, was much bigger than SH. So I have to conclude that you can at least make it up to St. Hill org size. So look around you as you read this. Do you see anything as big as booming St. Hill in the 1960s? No. Well, the policy in your OEC volumes gives you the map. So follow them and make these surrounds you just look at as org big as H. Okay, for such a fucking prolific writer, that made no fucking sense. But anyway, so he puts out this long ass document as a birthday game to get people to grow the orgs. Then it says, hold it, not so fast. This is the deal. If you and your staff made your org as big and busy as Old St. Hill, and it was stably so, not just one peak, the Universal Corps could come in, set up business in the qual staff section, and start pushing the staff right on up to OT. So they're trying to like build up everybody because they're going to clear the planet. Everything's going to be great and wonderful and beautiful and everything's perfect and blah, 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 whatever. So he's trying to put in everybody's head that this is what he wants to achieve. But if you notice something, he doesn't actually give any numbers. He just says 5 times your stats. Kind of questionable there, don't you think? Just saying. Anyway, so it says, Hubbard said this was the answer to all the prayers the orgs would magically expand and do well. But to Hubbard's horror, the game did not result in rising stats. 8 months later, Hubbard issued an addition to his first executive order, informing staff that they were not reaching St. Hill size. The problem was they were off purpose, and achieving this size was the way to get paid to live on. So what is make-break point? This is a point in terms of gross divisional statistics, below which the org struggles. It does not have money for vital things like equipment or even postage. Staff pay is low. The org is selling more than it is delivering and backlogging its advanced payments. It does not have the money to broadly promote. In short, it is struggling to keep going. Above the make-break point, there is lots of money for things. Staff pay is good. Tech staff is adequate, not only to catch up backlogging, but to keep up the present sales. There is a good HCO to keep ethics in, and the staff can afford to qual not just for the public, but for staff enhancement. They shot in just a few weeks for well below to make break point to well above. So he was talking about the Boston org, because Hubbard made a big deal about Boston having reached Old St. Hill due to the Sea Org command team. that was the only org that actually reached it. So, 1982-1983 began the false purpose rundown. So, the false purpose rundown is something that Hubbard began. He developed it as a way to discover why these orgs weren't making what he believed to be such an easy thing to do, St. Hill org size, right? He believed this was just such a simple thing to do. So he believed that it was evil purposes that were preventing the staff from reaching it. He believed the staff had evil purposes that were keeping them from reaching St. Hill org size. Mike Render even states in there that at one point, L. Ron H. himself declared that Mike Render had evil purposes and sent him to RPF because AOLA, I can never say that real fast, sent him, AOLA falsely reported their staff, so Mike Render got blamed and got sent to RPF by LRH. The only stats on St. Hill size, now remember I just pointed that out, LRH said that it was 5 times your current stats. Here's the problem. What if you have like a small org that only has like 10 people, but then the next org has like 100 people? Those are not going to be adequately comparable. But you don't have any adequate numbers on this. So, what can you do about that? So, what should you do? So, he's talking about Boston, and it is very interesting. They went from 6 staff to 250 in just a few weeks. They were not all Scientologists. They were WOGs. So, we've learned in the past that they kind of use WOGs as kind of like the N word for like people that aren't Scientologists. But they went on to real org board post by post. The major plus point was purpose. We wanted a big booming org and we got one. Anything that did not contribute to that was cast aside, and everything that did was pushed in fast. On every post there were no other fish to fry. So, he never really got down to the nitty-gritty about the statistics. So people were kind of asking questions. So they compiled a booklet called How Big Was Old St. Hill? If I could read today, this would be beautiful. And they put it out and finally got some actual statistics on how big Old St. Hill was. So in the end, they declared it was 200 staff, 200 students, $100,000 income per week, and $100,000 of value of services delivered. So that is what they're declaring is Old St. Hill size. So after Boston, it took until 1988 before the first 2 orgs reached the Old St. Hill size, and that was AOLA and Orange County org. Then they had several more in the 90s. But, here comes the but, none of these orgs stayed at St. Hill size orgs. Soon afterwards, they collapsed back to their original sizes or even went lower. And some of them were even declared being out of tech and disbanded. Most of them were like boosting their stats just to get up to that size so that people would get off their asses about, hey, you're not making your stats. So they would boost their stats up just so that they could reach that size and get people to shut the fuck up. Some of them were like pulling people in from other orgs so that they could claim that they were at that size, and then sending them back to their other orgs, and then they just fell the fuck apart. So the program itself was just a massive fail. So during this time of all this Saint Hill glory is when they released OT8. And they also launched the Free Winds, so it was like all this grand pomp and circumstances, woo, 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 Scientology. So Miscavige was using this as a way of keeping the secrets about the OT bullshit. So he was saying, okay, so we've just released OT8, and we've just launched the Free Winds. Well, we cannot release OT9 or OT10 until all orgs reach Saint Hill size. So come on, guys, we have to reach Saint Hill size before we can release these other two great OT levels. You know, it's not safe. It is not safe to release these OT levels until you reach Saint Hill size. So, you know, he kept boasting that up. Well, then when the program just fell the fuck apart because it was bullshit to begin with, that motivation was no longer there. So Miscavige had to come up with something else. So in 2003, Miscavige came up with his new bullshit level. So Miscavige was like, okay, so it's not Saint Hill size. It's not what you're doing. Like, that's not working. You're not reaching Saint Hill size because your orgs are not properly structured. You have to have an ideal org. That's why you're not reaching Saint Hill size. Your orgs are not properly structured. You have to have an ideal org. So for Miscavige, he defines an ideal org as buildings larger than 40,000 square feet. And they have to be renovated to be able to provide like all these like grand pomp and circumstances bullshit. And so now he's saying that you cannot release OT9 and OT10 until all orgs are ideal orgs. So now it's 15 years down the line since he started this new program. And we still don't have OT9 and OT10. And we still don't have all orgs as ideal orgs. And we still do not have Saint Hill size. And all orgs that are ideal orgs are not Saint Hill size. So, why don't you go figure that one out? David Miscavige, what's your answer to that one? So Mike Rinder finishes out his whole thing. He posts the full letter from L. Ron Hubbard, and that damn thing is 8 pages long, and I just don't have the willpower to read all that. But he does do like a little end note here. He says, I took Christy to England in 2010. We visited St. Hill. She roamed around with Sam Domingo while I sat in front of the castle. Security eventually figured out who I was and ordered me to leave. So he did eventually go see Old St. Hill, but he didn't get to stay very long. But yeah. So what are your thoughts? St. Hill size? Does it really matter? No, of course it doesn't, but you know, that's my opinion. I don't think any orgs are ever going to reach St. Hill sizes because too many people are discovering what a load of bullshit Scientology is. And it doesn't really matter anyway because there are no OT9 or OT10 levels. There's no more OT levels. Because L. Ron Hubbard died. There's nothing else. Unless Miscavige finally sits down and like writes out some bullshit, there's nothing else. So people in Scientology need to just hang that one up. But that is what I was going to cover today on this edition of Scientology from a Scientologist perspective. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below, or you can look in the description box and you can find my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I've got some more articles to read. I really am fixing to get into the whole debacle with the measles scare, because they're supposed to be healing themselves. Why are you having a measles scare? Apparently you're not very OT, are you? Anyway, that's gonna do it for tonight, guys. I need to go take a shower and I need to take my ass to bed. But let me know what you think down below. Give this video a like. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Ring that bell. I'm going to try to upload more regularly on my Scientology material. I've been a little behind, but I'm going to try to do this a little bit more regularly, guys. I promise. Anyway, guys, that does it for today. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.